Welcome to the Soundtrap Crash Course for Educators. I'm Taylor, an education specialist, and I'm going to get you started. So in this video, we're going to cover account setup, studio basics, and how to start your podcast. So for account setup, there's three main things. We want to install Soundtrap and launch Soundtrap. That creates your account when you launch Soundtrap for the first time. And then you'll create an assignment which allows your students to create their accounts when they launch Soundtrap from your assignment. You'll want to install Soundtrap to all the appropriate courses in Schoology. This is what you'll need to do in order to install Soundtrap within Schoology. First, log into Schoology, then click this little app waffle icon, go to the App Center, scroll down to Soundtrap, click on Soundtrap, and then you're going to say Install App. Agree, install for me. I like to add it to the drop-down menu, and then you'll also want to add it to all of your courses. This is what enables your students to actually access it. Click install, and it's installed. Now that you've installed Soundtrap in Schoology, you'll need to launch Soundtrap from Schoology. When you do this for the first time, that creates your Soundtrap account. So I'm going to click right here, launch Soundtrap, launch app, and the first time you do this, that creates your Soundtrap account. As you've seen, once you have installed Soundtrap, you can launch Soundtrap and that will create your account. Make sure you do not try to log in at soundtrap.com. Always launch Soundtrap from within Schoology. The process for creating student accounts is the exact same. Students can launch Soundtrap from within Schoology and that will create their account. Now that you and your students have created Soundtrap accounts by launching from within Schoology, let's look at how to make an assignment to give them something to do in Soundtrap. So the first thing you'll need to do is go into the studio, create a new project. It can be blank, but you need to have a project in order to create an assignment with it. So I'll quickly name this assignment, save it, and it's blank, but that's okay for now. I can exit the studio and go back out to my projects page, and now I can create an assignment out of this project. So if I click these three dots, I can see create assignment, share assignment, and then I'm going to take this third option, share using a link. So if you copy that link, that is your magic link. That's what's going to create a copy for your student, put you as a collaborator, and create a new folder. So you're going to take that link and jump into Schoology again. So now back in Schoology, in the course that's appropriate, you'll say add materials, add assignment, name the assignment. In the description section, click the link button and go ahead and put the link right there. I just put it in both so it's obvious for students. Fill out the rest of these categories. And that creates your assignment. Now, when students log in, they're going to see a new assignment and they'll be able to click a link like this. They'll be able to click that link and that will launch the assignment. Make sure that students have created their Soundtrap accounts before clicking the assignment link. Now you'll probably want to come back into Soundtrap, open that project up again, and actually fill out the assignment for the students. Soundtrap is going to create a folder for you that has all the copies of the projects. So as soon as each student clicks on that link, it's going to make a new copy and it's going to put it in this folder. And then you'll see that student's icon right there to know that they are a collaborator on that assignment. You have full access to their copy of the assignment. So if you want, you can just open it up in Soundtrap and give feedback there. Alternatively, you can have your students download the MP3 of their project and turn that in on Schoology. The student course walks them through how to download a file from Soundtrap and upload it into Schoology. In this next section, we're going to look at the studio basics. So we're going to get a quick tour of the Soundtrap studio, talk about the recording basics and podcast basics to get you ready to start your podcast. All right, time to get into the studio. So I'm just here on my projects page and I can click Enter Studio and that will bring me into the Soundtrap studio. And it's going to show me this template option. I've got the choice between a music template or a podcast template. For now, I'm going to go ahead and choose podcast. And the only difference between these two templates are at the top, if I choose a podcast, you'll see that this timeline is in seconds and minutes. Whereas if I chose music, it would be in musical beats and measure numbers. Then the other difference is my microphone by default with a podcast will have no effects on it. Those are the two main differences. So now let's take a second and just do a quick tour of the studio so you can see what all the buttons do. So I'm going to start on the top right, and I'm going to kind of work my way clockwise. So the first things to notice are these purple and blue buttons. The purple button is the loops tab, where we have all our different loops, so you can find all these different instruments and styles of music as little musical bits. And then below that, you've got the collaboration tab. This is where I can invite either students or other teachers or people that I want to collaborate with by clicking this button. And then I can invite them with their name or with an email. And then when they come into the project, I can chat with them here in this window. And then moving down, I've got the zoom in and zoom out buttons. And then I've got down here, I've got the controls for the metronome, so I can turn the metronome on and off, click the gear to change the count in, the volume of the metronome, or the sound of the metronome right there. Here I have tempo, so this is a speed, and I can change it up and down, I can type it in, whatever I want. Right here, I've got all my transport controls, so record, go back to the beginning, rewind, play, and pause, and go forward. And here we've got a time code, so you can see where we are. Like if I move it to right here, we can see we're 7.2 seconds into this song or podcast. And then here I've got a master volume control. And then I've got the ability to go to transcripts. More on this later, but you can see that's where you would access it. And then up here on the top left, I've got the option to add a new track. So I can click that, and I've got all these different types of tracks I can add. I can add a voice and microphone if I want to record something, or I've got all these software instruments I can do, or I can do a guitar and bass amp if I want to plug in my guitar or my bass. I can also import a file, and that could be an audio file or a MIDI file. That is just about it for the studio tour. Hopefully that gives you a general idea of where things are, and now we can dive into more detail on what they all do. In this section, I'm going to talk Recording 101 and walk you through a couple tips and terms. So the number one rule of recording is to always wear headphones. And headphones are important because they eliminate spill and feedback. Spill is when you pick up unwanted sound, and feedback is when you have this nasty sound produced when the mic is picking up the speaker sound. And feedback kind of sounds like this. Another tip is to always record in a quiet space, free of disruptions and noise as much as possible. Also, always do a sound check to avoid clipping. Clipping is distortion caused when the microphone signal is too loud. It sounds like this.
This audio is clipping. This audio is not.
Another important term is monitoring, and monitoring allows you to hear in real time what's being recorded. So with Soundtrap, we have a simplified monitoring system, and if you say you're using headphones, we'll turn monitoring on, and if not, we'll turn monitoring off. Keep in mind, you can always manually adjust this, but this is how we address the monitoring question. All right, so before we look at how to make a podcast, let's learn a little bit about what a podcast is. So technically, a podcast is an audio program with recurring releases or episodes. But in our cases with Soundtrap for Education, a better definition would probably be an audio project that facilitates project-based learning and improves listening comprehension, expression, and creativity. Podcasts usually include voice recordings, but don't always, because there's so many different ways to use podcasting in your classroom. Podcasting can be relevant for all subjects, and I'd encourage you to check out some example podcast projects on our EDU blog. Here you can see a couple examples of how teachers around the world are using podcasts with their students, but I'd encourage you to read yourself on edublog.soundtrap.com to learn more and get more specific context. I'd also encourage you to use model podcasts that you might find on Spotify or on other podcasting platforms so that your students can see real-world examples and have a context for how podcasts can share information and cultivate learning. So that's just a quick introduction to podcasts, what they are, and how they can be used in the classroom. I'd encourage you to research and learn more, but for now, let's look at how to make podcasts. In this video, I'm going to walk us through just the basics of recording, basically setting up your microphone and a couple of the controls for recording. So the first thing I want to do, now that I'm in a blank project, is click Add New Track, say Voice and Microphones, and so now I've added that track, and we can see it right here. I could label it, so I might label this Mr. Hahn, and now before I'm ready to record, I have to make sure that Soundtrap is listening to the correct microphone. So to do that, I click this button right here, or this menu. In case you don't see this, in case you see something like this, come over here to this little microphone button, click that, and that will show the instrument, or show the microphone. So now if I click on this will show me all my different options. Normally you'll just be using your built-in microphone, but I'm gonna go ahead and use my nice fancy Snowball, which is a USB microphone. And I'm almost ready to go, but I wanna be super sure that my volume and my levels are gonna be correct. So I can click this little button, which is my volume check. And I can say start test. And I'm just talking normally about how loud I'm gonna talk, testing 1, 2, 3, and Soundtrap sets the level. Cool, good to go. And now I'm just going to drag this back, come down here and click record. So now I'm ready to record. I'm going to click the start recording button and it's going to give me a count in. Keep in mind, it's not recording until that count in is done. As soon as it's done, you're off to the races. So here we go. Hey everyone, Mr. Hahn here. So we're going to take today and tomorrow to get comfortable with some basics of Soundtrap. We're going to work with loops and voice recording. Make sure to check your projects page to join the projects that I've invited you to. And I hope you enjoy making music with loops and recording your voice. Send me a message in the chat window if you have any questions or just want to show off your new creation. And there we go. I've made my voice recording. I can see it right here. And I can click save. And now I'm ready to share that with my students. If you're ready to export, you'll need to save, and then you'll notice this right here. This download button is going to change, and it's going to say mixing. So Soundtrap is in the background going to do some audio magic to mix and master this project and create an MP3 that you can then download. So it usually takes a minute or two to do that, and then you'll be able to click this button. So now it's done mixing, and I can click this button, and that will download my file. For me, it's downloading as a WAV, but you can always come in here and you can say export and you can choose an MP3 file if you would prefer that. And there's one other way you can do it. If for some reason you want to export just one track and not the whole entire thing, you can do that. So I can go to this track, click these 3 buttons, and I can export that track. And then that will just export only this track right here. So if you want to download the whole thing, the final product, you download with this button. And if you want to just download a certain track, you can go to that track and then choose your export option from here. And that's it. Now that you've created your accounts and your student accounts and know some of the basics about assignments, the studio, and recording, I'd like to show you one example, and then it's your turn to start your podcast. With this curriculum connection video, I want to take a few minutes to shift our focus away from the technical aspects of Soundtrap and to look at more of the curriculum connections and the ways that you can use Soundtrap inside your classroom. So we're going to look at how you can use Soundtrap to address social emotional learning competencies. And you may have seen this before, and you probably have heard a lot about SEL. Today in this video, we're just going to look at self-awareness. And the exercise is a super simple one, high, low, surprise. And I've got an example of it in Soundtrap that we can look at now, and you're welcome to use this example with your students. I'd love it if you would share your experience with other educators in the Soundtrap for Education Facebook group, and you can obviously check that out on Facebook, and it looks something like this. And we'd love to see you in there, along with a bunch of other teachers from around the world that are using Soundtrap and sharing their story and their experience. So let's take a look at this example project in Soundtrap. Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hahn here. I'm really excited for you to be getting started with Soundtrap. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's assignment, creating with loops. I've been loving listening to your songs. Today, we're going to do a simple exercise of self-reflection as a way for you to continue to get comfortable with Soundtrap. This exercise is something we used to do at the dinner table when I grew up with my family. It's called highlight, lowlight, surprise. You just pick a day to reflect on, either today or yesterday, and share your highlight, your favorite or best part of your day, a low light, your least favorite part of the day, and a surprise, something that you didn't expect. This will be due tomorrow, and since I've already created an assignment in Soundtrap, and I'm already a collaborator, all you'll need to do to turn it in is just hit save and then text me in the chat to let me know that you're done. Your voice recording is the only thing that's required today, but if you want, you can add music and sound effects to help capture the mood and tone of your day. Let me know if you have any questions by typing in the chat window on the right side of the screen. I've included an example of my own high-low surprise from yesterday just to make sure you understand the assignment. So you'll just need to make a new track and record yourself talking through your high-low surprise on that new track. Have fun! Here's my highlight lowlight surprise. My highlight was playing music for my friends in their backyard. David, Abby, and Olivia listened to me play my handpan, and we all had a really great time just hanging out together and sharing music. My lowlight was that my computer crashed while I was working on a new video, so I lost a bunch of work and I had to redo it. Ugh. My surprise was my friend Carlos reached out and we got to talk. I hadn't seen him in over a year, and it was a nice surprise to talk and laugh together. For more help on Soundtrap and to go deeper, you can check out these 3 resources. We've got a landing page just for LAUSD to walk you through all the important things customized for LA. We've got a student course where students can watch videos in order and learn the basics of Soundtrap. And we also have a certified educator course if you want to dive a little bit deeper and get certified as a Soundtrap educator.